The sky above you churns with black clouds, pregnant with a storm that refuses to break. The air is thick, heavy, with something that feels far older than time, far deeper than fear. You have walked this path for days, the road behind you lost to the fog, the road ahead swallowed by shadow. Your feet ache, raw from the journey, and yet you push forward because stopping means becoming part of the landscape. Forgotten, lost, erased. You have heard the stories. They call it the nameless place, a stretch of land where the rules of the world bend and twist into grotesque forms, where time forgets itself and space warps like melted wax. No maps lead here, no traveler returns, and yet, here you stand. Your hand tightens around the hilt of your blade. It feels small, meaningless, like a child's toy clutched against the throat of the universe. But it is all you have. That and your breath, shallow and cold, a reminder that you are still alive. For now. The village ahead is silent. No wind stirs the leaves. The houses are blackened husks, empty shells that should have crumbled long ago, but remain standing through some silent, terrible will. Something watches you. You feel it in the hollows of your ribs, in the marrow of your bones. The silence presses against you, thick and smothering, carrying a weight you cannot name. The first house you enter is filled with faces, not bodies, faces, stretched and peeled, tacked to the walls like trophies. They are not rotting, not decomposing. Their eyes move. They watch you. A shiver runs through your spine as you take a step deeper into the house, past the threshold where light does not follow. A sound, a whisper, a sigh, a slow, wet, slithering noise that sends ice crawling through your veins. You turn. A woman stands in the doorway, her mouth an open wound of jagged teeth, her skin shifting like candle wax in a hot breeze. Her voice slithers into your ears like oil, thick and suffocating. Stay. Your body betrays you. Your feet refuse to move. The walls pulse, the faces stretching into screams, mouths moving without voices. The house is alive. It is breathing, shifting, closing in around you. Something unseen brushes against your arm. Clammy, wrong. You choke on a breath, bile rising in your throat. You will not die here. With all the strength left in your bones, you break free, stumbling into the street, gasping for breath that tastes of rot and iron. The village is awake now. The silence is gone, replaced by the sound of things that should not exist stirring in the shadows. The ground shifts beneath you. The street is gone. The sky is wrong. The stars have changed. You are not where you were. A figure stands at the far end of the village, tall and wrong, its limbs too long, its joints bending in ways that make your skin crawl. It does not move, yet it is closer. You blink, and it is closer still. A smile carves its way across the thing's face, splitting skin like paper. You run. The path twists, bends, unravels beneath your feet. The trees reach for you, their branches grasping, clawing. The air hums with whispers, voices that slip into your ears and coil around your thoughts. Stay. No, you don't know if you speak the word or think it, but the world trembles in response. The ground opens beneath you, and you fall, swallowed by the dark, by the weight of something vast and unending. There is no bottom, no end, just the endless descent into something that has been waiting for you. You wake, not in the village, not in the forest, somewhere else. The air is thick with the scent of blood and something sweet, something sickly. The walls around you pulse, the ground beneath you shifting like the inside of a living thing. The floor is damp, sticky, and something pulses beneath your fingertips as you press your hand against it. A heartbeat. You're not alone. They are here. They have been waiting, and they are hungry. A sound echoes through the space. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, dragging. Something massive moves in the distance. Its presence felt more than seen. A weight in the air. A gravity that pulls at your breath. A voice murmurs from the darkness, low and rasping, speaking words you do not understand, yet somehow recognize. You stand, your body trembling, your mind screaming at you to run, but your legs will not obey. The darkness shifts, something peeling itself from the walls, its shape fluid, ever changing. A hand, wrong, too many fingers, too long, reaches toward you. The whisper comes again. Stay. But you are not alone in this nightmare. Something stirs within you. Something older than your fear. A memory? A presence? The whispers shift. No longer only from the dark, but from inside your own mind. They don't tell you to stay. They tell you to listen. The walls throb, their pulse matching your own. The scent of blood intensifies, yet there's no pain. You can feel the unseen figures watching, the weight of their hunger, but also their patience. They have been waiting for something, or someone. The thing before you, its fingers stretching, twisting, stops. It cocks its head, as if curious. The whisper shifts. Who are you? The question scrapes through your mind like rusted metal. It digs, pulls at something buried deep within your memories. Something you do not understand. Your lips part, but no answer comes, because you do not know. The walls tighten, the hunger grows, and you realize something terrible. They are not waiting to consume you. They are waiting for you to remember. And when you do, everything will change. A flicker of memory stirs, an image too quick to grasp, slipping through your fingers like smoke. The darkness swells, pushing closer, drawn to the hesitation in your mind. A pulse of something familiar, an old promise, an ancient debt unpaid, echoes in your bones. They know. They have always known. And now, they are ready. A voice within you, not your own, speaks. It is time. The walls unravel. The darkness consumes all. And you remember. A past you had forgotten. A truth buried beneath lifetimes of lies. The moment you remember, the whispers grow deafening. Overlapping voices, crying, laughing, screaming in an endless cacophony. The weight of forgotten centuries crashes down upon you, and your vision is filled with blinding light. And then silence. You open your eyes. You are not where you were. You are home, and they are waiting. The stars above you shimmer, shifting into shapes you now recognize. Symbols burned into your soul, memories of power lost and reclaimed. You exhale, your breath a mist of light and shadow. The figures that once loomed in the dark now kneel before you. Their hunger is not for your flesh, but for your return. You were never lost. You were only waiting to awaken, and now the world will tremble anew. The sea is alive tonight. It breathes in the rhythm of the tide, exhales in the crash of waves against jagged rock, whispers in the foam curling at your feet. But there is something else in the air. Not just the salt, not just the weight of storm clouds hovering too far to see but close enough to feel. There is something watching, something waiting. It has been waiting for a long, long time. You pull your coat tighter around your shoulders and take a step forward, boots sinking into the damp sand. The lantern in your hand flickers, nearly snuffed by the wind, but you don't turn back. Not now. Not when you've come this far. The others warned you against this journey, said the stories were meant to scare, not to guide. But you know better. Legends don't spring from empty ground. There's always a seed of truth. And tonight, you will find it. The stories speak of a shadow that doesn't move with the tide, a thing that does not belong to the world of men. It waits beneath the surface, silent, patient. Some say it has always been there, older than the first ship that dared carve through these waters. Others claim it is something new, something born from the sins of sailors lost at sea. Whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. Those who see it never return. But you are not just anyone. The waves hush as you step onto the dock, wood groaning beneath your weight. The ship awaits you, its sails bound tight, its crew uneasy. They don't know why they feel this way, only that the air tastes wrong, that the night is heavier than it should be. You meet their eyes, one by one, and see the same question reflected in every gaze. Is this worth it? You don't answer. Words will not change what must be done. The wind carries you forward, out into open water, beyond the safety of land. The lanterns flicker, the sea deepens. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time bends here, twists like a rope fraying at the ends. You do not sleep, nor do you let the others. The tales all agree on one thing. It strikes when the world is at its quietest, when the ocean holds its breath, and then it happens. The ship lurches, sudden and violent. A scream cuts through the night, swallowed just as quickly by the void. The crew stumbles, reaching for ropes, for weapons, for anything that might keep them anchored to the world they know. But there is nothing, only the dark, only the sea, and something beneath it. You run to the edge of the deck, gripping the railing tight enough to splinter wood. Below, the water churns, but there is no storm, no wind, just movement, slow, deliberate, rising. The first thing you see is its eye. No, not an eye. That would be too simple. This is something else, something that should not be. It reflects everything and nothing all at once. A perfect abyss lined with 1,000 shifting colors, none of them right. You cannot look away, and it knows this. It watches you as you watch it, and in that moment, you understand. You were never the hunter. The ship groans, wood bending under a weight that should not be. The crew screams, some scrambling for the lifeboats, others frozen in place, but there is nowhere to go. It is too late. The sea is not yours anymore. It never was. A sound, deep and resonant, shudders through the air. Not a roar, not a wail. Something worse. A laugh, not human, not alive. The reflection in its eyes shifts, and suddenly, you are looking at yourself. Not as you are, but as you could be, as you will be. The ship tilts. The waves reach up, hungry, insatiable. Hands grasp at your coat, your arms, your shoulders, but you do not move. You cannot. There is only one thought in your mind now, one certainty that echoes through the void as the sea swallows you whole. You were never meant to leave. The wreckage washes ashore days later. No bodies, no blood, just the shattered remains of wood and cloth, a ship broken apart by something too massive to comprehend. The villagers gather at the shoreline, whispering among themselves. Some claim to see shapes in the water, flickers of movement just beneath the surface. Others insist it was a storm, a tragedy born of nature, nothing more. But there is one man, an old sailor with eyes clouded by time, who says nothing at all. He simply watches the waves, his hand clenched around a small polished stone, a mirror, though one that reflects nothing at all. And when the tide pulls back, he closes his eyes and listens. The sea is alive tonight, and it is laughing. But the story does not end there. Far from the shore, beyond the knowledge of men, something stirs beneath the waves. The wreckage may have washed up, but the truth remains submerged, bound to the deep. The abyss remembers those who dare cross its threshold, and it does not forget easily. Beneath the surface, among ruins lost to time, a presence lingers. It does not hunger, for it is beyond such petty desires. It does not rage, for it has no need for anger. It simply waits. It watches. It listens. And then it moves. The water, once still, trembles. Shadows coil through the depths, spreading like ink through the current. A whisper, too low, too distant, brushes against the minds of those who sleep along the coast. Dreams turn dark, suffused with images of unending blackness, of fathomless pits where the sky itself has been swallowed. Some wake screaming, others wake knowing the sea will call again. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. And when it does, there will be no ships to return, no wreckage to wash ashore, no old sailors left to warn those who listen, because this time the sea will not simply take, it will consume, and the silence it leaves behind will be absolute, unbroken, a void where there was once song, where the tides once roared. The whispers that reach into the dreams of mortals will no longer be warnings but invitations, luring those who dare listen into the abyss. The water will rise, slow but relentless, claiming the land as it did the ship, as it did those who sailed it. The laughter that once mocked the living will fade, replaced by something far more terrifying, an endless, watchful stillness. And when the last wave crashes upon the shore, when the last light is extinguished beneath its depth, the world will finally understand. The sea was never simply alive, it was waiting, and now it is awake. The wind howled like a starving beast, clawing at the ancient trees that lined the forsaken valley. A cold mist slithered over the ground, creeping into every crevice, clinging to the stones like a spectral curse. The people of the nearby village whispered in hushed voices, never daring to utter its name for fear that the very act of speaking it would summon something unspeakable. For centuries there had been warnings. There had been disappearances, stories of shadowed figures lurking in the periphery of one's vision, of strange footprints appearing where no living thing had passed, of a whispering voice carried by the wind, curling into the ears of those unfortunate enough to stray too close. Yet, despite the warnings, something compelled him forward. The scholar, a man whose name was once esteemed within the halls of academia, had spent his life searching for knowledge beyond the veil of human comprehension. The moment he had found reference to the Nameless One in an obscure, dust-choked tome, buried deep within the archives of an abandoned monastery, he had been unable to resist, and so, under the cloak of night, he had set out on a journey that no mortal mind was meant to endure. The valley stretched before him, a mouth yawning open, waiting to swallow him whole. Each step he took sent a shudder through his spine, the cold seeping into his very bones. The trees, ancient and twisted, groaned as if in agony, their gnarled branches reaching toward him like skeletal fingers. He had the distinct and terrible feeling that they were alive, not in the way plants are, but in a way that suggested a deep, malevolent awareness. They watched him, though they had no eyes. Somewhere, far in the distance, a sound, no, a voice, slithered through the air. It spoke without words. It called without sound, and yet he understood. With a shaking breath, he continued. As he descended into the valley, the world seemed to shift around him. The trees grew taller, their limbs arching in unnatural ways. The mist thickened, forming shapes that melted away the moment he tried to focus on them. The wind carried laughter, or perhaps screams. It was impossible to tell. Then the air grew heavier, pressing down on him as if unseen hands were reaching from the mist, dragging at his limbs. Then, at last, he saw it. A monolith, blacker than the void between the stars, jutted from the earth like the shattered bone of a forgotten god. Its surface was neither smooth nor rough. It defied definition, as though reality itself refused to acknowledge it. The very sight of it made his mind reel, a sickness blooming in his stomach as his body protested against its mere existence. It hummed, a deep, resonant sound that didn't belong to the physical world. He stepped closer. The air grew thick, pressing down on him like the weight of 1,000 unseen hands. His ears filled with whispers, overlapping, incomprehensible, yet perfectly clear. He could not tell if they came from the wind, the monolith, or from something inside his own skull. He reached out. His fingers barely grazed the surface when the world cracked. Darkness rushed forward, swallowing him whole. The valley, the trees, the mist, all vanished in an instant. He was falling, plummeting through a void that had no end, no up, no down. Shapes twisted around him, shifting impossibly, flickering between form and formlessness. He felt himself unraveling, his body breaking apart like threads dissolving in the void. But still, his mind remained. Then, a pair of eyes. No, more than a pair. 1,000 eyes. 1,000,000. Each one vast, endless, filled with knowledge and madness. They burned into his soul, stripping away the fragile layers of sanity he had once clung to. He felt their gaze inside him, beneath his skin, as if they could see the very essence of what he was and unmake it at will. And then, he saw it, not with his eyes, for they no longer functioned in the way he once understood, not with his mind, for it had already unraveled. He perceived it with something else, something deeper, something primal, the Nameless One. It did not move, yet it was everywhere. It did not speak, yet it filled every fiber of his being with its will. It was beyond time, beyond space, beyond comprehension. It had no form, and yet it was all forms. It had no name, and yet it was the origin of all names. He tried to scream, but sound did not exist in this place. He tried to run, but there was no direction in which to flee. He could feel his own thoughts being rewritten, reshaped, something slipping into him, a presence vast and unknowable, remaking his very essence into something other. The eyes blinked, and he understood. He had spent his life searching for knowledge, for understanding, for truth, and now, at the precipice of eternity, he had found it. And it had found him. A single thought coiled through his shattered mind, echoing infinitely. You were never meant to know. And then silence. But silence was not the end. Something remained, a fragment of consciousness, floating within the abyss, grasping at meaning, at identity. Time had lost its shape, unraveling into infinity. He was not dead, yet he was no longer alive in any sense that could be understood. And somewhere, something was whispering his name. Something moved within the void. Shapes flickered past, creatures of impossible design, their forms shifting like liquid thought. He was surrounded, yet utterly alone. They were watching. They had always been watching. They had been waiting. The eyes blinked again, and the weight of their gaze crushed against what was left of him. Thoughts that were not his own coiled through his mind, whispering secrets too vast for any mortal to contain. He understood things beyond human comprehension, saw worlds that had never been and would never be. He felt a hunger not his own, stretching outward, endless and consuming. He was no longer a scholar, no longer a man. He had become something else. And the Nameless One smiled. The valley remained as it had always been, untouched, unchanging. The wind howled, the trees groaned, the mist curled over the ground. The village remained, the people whispered, and life continued. But the scholar was gone, and the Nameless One watched. And somewhere, in the depths of the abyss, a new whisper was born. The world shifted, ever so slightly, as something crawled from the depths of the void, unseen but present. The village would not remain untouched forever. The wind carried a new voice now, one that did not belong to the Nameless One, yet bore its mark. And in the heart of the valley, beneath the monolith, something stirred, waiting for the next foolish seeker to listen to the call. And in the darkness beyond, something far greater stirred. The Nameless One had always been, but now there was another. A child of its will, a whisper made flesh. The cycle had begun again.